had a big retirement party for this guy on the floor. And so, they just got to talking to everybody doing their speeches, and they said, yeah, such and such, he's dedicated 43 years to Shell. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how many years? And so, like, I got to talking to other people. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been here 30 years. I'm going to retire with 36 years, 40 years to him. They called it Shell lifers. I did not meet one person that was going to retire with less than, like, 28 years.
Oh, my gosh.
And so I'm like, this is not goals for me.
You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Kamunya here, and we are back with episode 116 of the Money Monopolizers podcast, and I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Excellent, man. I'm just super excited to still be out here and just like continue going back and forth between San Antonio and Houston, getting these episodes out. This is really it's been a step up from like where we started off at, like just doing all the virtual Zoom episode, Skype episodes, and stuff like that. So it's been a journey in itself.
Now it's crazy to think about 116 episodes. That ain't
the past 16 episodes have all been in person. It's been a very different approach to it for sure. So it's just like we've been able to adapt into it, and I think 2022, like the people that we're going to be able to get in a network with just by being in person rather than just being virtual, that's like the most rewarding thing for me.
And that's the best part about doing it in person. Like y'all see the show and stuff, but like behind the scenes, being able to talk to the guests and stuff like that, that's where the real sauce is too.
No doubt.
Cheat code, start a podcast, man. For real. So, but now, man, but as far as like anything else, did you have anything?
Everything. Shoot, this episode will be released like right before Christmas, though. So I'm super excited for just being able to spend time with family. I'm very grateful for just still having being able to celebrate with them and everything as my sisters grow up and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you just see how their Christmas lists change and things like that. That's just wild to watch. So I'm just very grateful just like for family, just being able to be around them still. So
no, for sure, that's good, man. I think I'm excited to end out the year and get into 2022. So many things planned for the new year and for specifically for our businesses and also for the podcast and the show. We are going to be traveling outside of Texas finally next year. So it's a lot of heavy hitters that are in especially places like Atlanta, man. And we want to go tap into that network. So definitely watch out for some of the guests that we're going to be having on the show next year. It's probably early as January, honestly.
It's gonna be serious.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited about that, man. But I mean, we have such a fantastic episode planned for y'all today because a lot of people always hit us and tell us how they want us to get more women on the show. And look, we be trying. Like, yo, it ain't like we just be like, nah, we good on that. But like, no, we really be trying. I guess according to our guest today, we're not trying hard enough though. So we are definitely trying to do that, and we're gonna tap into her network to be able to try to do that more often or more so this upcoming year as well. So, but we are excited to get into it. We got Miss Nikki, Nicole Handy.
Nicole Handy.
Okay, yeah, Nicole.
But everybody knows me by Nikki.
Okay,
a lot
cool.
of people know me by Nikki.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Miss Nicole Handy. Can I call you Nikki though?
You can call me Nikki.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Is that something your friends can call you Nikki? No, y'all ain't friends. Yeah, y'all just Nicole.
Well, you know
y'all.
what? Everybody that's not my friend calls me Nikki.
Yeah.
Because they only know me as Nikki from Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know how people know me by what they call me.
Got you. Yeah, that's actually very real because a lot of people that call me by my last name might be like, yeah, you really don't know me, because only like the OGs call me by my first name. So, but anyways, yeah. So we got Miss Nikki Handy on the show today. We got a heavy hitter in the Houston area. Like I said, Houston has so many heavy, powerful players, especially in the real estate game. We're so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm super excited to see you guys being so young, doing your thing. Like seriously, no, I'm very. As a Black woman, I'm proud to see that.
We appreciate it.
Sure.
We appreciate it. It's we're excited to kind of get into your story and everything you got going on. Usually how we start these shows, we really want to get into the background of our guests, right?
Okay.
And as far as like, you know, your upbringing with money and kind of like how you know that kind of shaped you where you are today, and also kind of how you transitioned to where you are today. And then we're gonna kind of, you know, go forward a little bit, then we'll come back and break everything.
All right, cool.
So can you kind of start with that?
Yeah, so upbringing, I am a native Houstonian. I've always lived here.
Just trying to hold it down.
What kind of fueled my entrepreneurial spirit is my grandparents, actually. My mom and dad, they were both what I consider standard middle class. My mom was a nurse. My dad worked at the post office all his life. He only had one job. But my grandparents, I only saw them being entrepreneurs, you know, and like like my grandparents, they were able to like finance all of their children's homes.
Really?
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So like they
Like
were
down payment?
No, like cash, pay for
The
the
entire
house.
house?
The
No
entire
mortgage?
house. Yeah. They have 5 children.
Your
And-
parents?
Yes,
Wow.
they bought our first house for us. Well, they financed it for us. My dad, my family, my mom and dad paid my grandparents back. They bought over 10 years.
Wow.
That was the plan. So it was they had a mortgage for 10 years, but they paid my grandparents back. So
Shout out to Braden.
yeah, so like that's where kind of like the whole Braden like,
Yeah.
hey, let's do this comes from. It comes from them, you know. So like I said, even though my parents were not entrepreneurs, my grandparents were.
Wait, what did they do?
They just owned a lot of stuff.
Ownership.
Ownership,
Yeah.
property ownership. You know, they had apartment complexes. They owned a lot of multifamily units, a lot of property, a lot of rental property.
Yeah.
They had small businesses like daycares and washaterias, and they still have they kind of sold a lot of it off as they got older, but they still have some commercial spaces like event spaces, a hair salon, you know, commercial spaces that they rent out.
Mhm.
You know, they still have those things today. And like my grandparents, both of them are still alive, and they're 84 and 89 years
Wow.
old. Yeah. And they still run all of their own businesses.
Really?
Yes. So like, you know, I'm like, dang, like as a little girl, you know, I didn't realize like my grandparents were the one that was the bank.
Yeah.
You know, but as I got
super
older,
cool.
I'm like, that is freedom.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? I've never seen my grandparents work for anybody. Now they did before I was alive, but I never personally saw that.
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, like, I'm like, that is freedom. You know, that's what I want to do and where I want to be in life.
Man, I want to get into this. Before we get into
That's
this,
a great
'cause this
foundation.
is
I've never
like,
heard that one.
we haven't had nobody on the show that actually had something like this, where like someone in their immediate family that close was actually an entrepreneur doing it at a high level. How did that dichotomy of like having your, you know, parents, which you live with, are, you know, trading in time for money, and that's like their lifestyle, while you see your grandparents, and it's like, obviously you want to listen to your parents, but at the same time you see your grandparents, it's like, yeah, but I listen to you. I don't want to, you know, go to school, do this, and I want to end up like my grandparents. What was that like?
Well, I mean, it never was a clash. You know what I'm saying? Because I think my grandparents, they still had the mentality of go to school,
Yeah.
go get a good job. They just didn't have that same opportunity, right? So, you know, that is still what they instilled in my father, you know, their children, right?
Yeah.
But us as the grandchildren, we're looking like, we want this or this, you know? You know, like, do we want this level of freedom or that level of freedom? And like, and you know, our parents, and like my grandmother is still a huge advocate of education,
Mhm.
you know, going to school, you know, and still getting a good job. You know, I think they had the hustle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They had the hustle to survive,
Mhm.
you know, and them just being natural born hustlers, that's what made them entrepreneurs.
Right.
But they still looked at education, good jobs as a form of wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
opportunity. So, you know, kind of like by the law of the land of just who they were, you know, and because they had to create their own opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, I think that is what fueled them being entrepreneurs the way that they are. And even like, it's funny, like they've never even had a mortgage. So every single home they bought, they paid cash. And even the home that they live in today, they built it from the ground up.
Really?
And what they did is they would get money and do something.
Yeah.
Like they would get money, pour the slab. Next set of money they got, they framed the house. It took them like 2 years to build, 2 or 3 years to build this house.
Yeah.
You know, the next time they got some money, they would sheetrock it or plumb it, you know, whatever the case may be. But they've never owned, never had a mortgage on anything. And that's what that's one thing that they did always say is like, pay your house off. You know,
Don't have debt.
Don't have debt, because that is how you get ahead in life.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So obviously, because one thing you mentioned that's really profound, you said they did it because they had to, in the sense of like they became entrepreneurs because they had to. Was that due to, obviously, you said they're around 80s, in their 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So they were, in their 20s when it was in like, that was the 40s, around that time. So obviously, segregation, all these kinds of things was prominent at that time. And I assume were they in Houston? They
started off in Louisiana, but they moved to Houston like in the 19. They were in Houston before they started a family. Yeah.
Got you. Yeah. So was that more so why they felt like, okay, they don't really have opportunity to go to school, or is it more so just, I don't know. What do you mean by the fact that like they had to?
What? If you listen to my grandfather speak today, like he still tells me so many chilling stories about the times when they grew up. So they were not always entrepreneurs. My grandmother was a bus driver. I never saw it. My grandfather worked at the power company, the electrical company, but he said you could lose your job like this as a black man. There.
At that time.
At that time, yeah, like. Finances were not, you didn't have stable finances if you worked somewhere.
Yeah.
And like, even things like how he would tell me, like, the black men couldn't drive their nice cars to work. Oh, wow. They would be fired the next day. You had a car better than the other man, you would be fired the next day.
Wow.
So they realized, like, hey, we have 5 children. We can't feed our family and survive off of, I might get fired the next day just because, and so that's, like I said, that's where it kind of turned into that. And I think what happened is there was some opportunity. Somebody passed away and left a lump sum of money. Mm-hmm. It wasn't enough to build an empire, right? But it was enough to start one thing that turned into another thing, and then turned into another thing, and that's how they build it.
And I think what Alex hit on earlier was talking about them having to. Because one thing I always think about today was like entrepreneurship is like a mainstream thing that people are getting pushed to more now. It's like it's the thing to do. Back then it was just like, I have to do this because the alternative is I can be here today on the street.
So you had
tomorrow.
To have another stream of income.
Right. So I was looking at that and just thinking about like what's their philosophy about how they teach their kids, because you said like a lot of people are trying to want their kids today to become entrepreneurs themselves, or like this is like the best way to do it. They actually were going the opposite way, saying like I want you to go the safe, secure route, and because I'm doing this because I have to, not because I'm necessarily this is just the thing to do. I need to provide for my family. Yeah. So do you think that they had like a like they valued that more? Like why would they still value the job route necessarily, even though they knew that their experiences might not have been best?
Because I think at that time they felt like that things had changed and it was more security. Mm-hmm. Like my dad started working at the post office when he was 17. Yeah. That's the only job he ever had. Okay. And back in the day, the post office was a good job. Yeah. Like they had good job. It was a government job. They had great benefits. I think, like I said, I think they looked at things had changed and like now this is a stable route. Like my mom's a nurse. Like today nurses can still get a job. You know what I'm saying? And even like my parents, like when I'm like, hey, quitting this corporate thing, going to sell real estate, I'm gonna do this, and they're like, wait, you crazy? Yeah. They told me I was crazy, but it was because they didn't understand. Right.
So okay, because I want to kind of transition into that. So how you obviously so you're growing up and so nobody told you not to go to school. In fact, they're encouraging you to go to school.
Right, absolutely.
So when you're 18 years old, what happened then? Did you go to college and then?
Yeah, so I went to Prairie View. I graduated from Prairie View A&M University with a chemical engineering degree. Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. So my degree's in chemical engineering. So I graduated in 2008 and I just started the workforce. Yeah. I started corporate America. I did the same thing that everybody else that went to school with me did. Back when I graduated, entrepreneurship wasn't like the big thing. Right. But just being serious, it wasn't the big thing. It was you go to school, get a good job, work, do good for yourself, build up on based of, these companies, what these companies have to offer. It was never, your earning potential was always here. It was never infinite because you weren't controlling it. Mm-hmm. But so I worked in corporate America for 11 years. My last job was 6 years at Shell, the oil company. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting down one day and I was like, I'm a little bored with this. Seriously, I get bored. So real talk, just being real talk, you guys have an engineering background. Engineers are boring people.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Engineers are boring people. Right? So
I'm like, I'll say it for you.
Sitting with all these, working with all these. First of all, Shell has great people.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about Shell. The culture is great. It's a great place to work. But I'm sitting here like I'm bored.
And they didn't look like you.
They didn't look like me. Oh my God. Let's talk about that.
They see you today with these braids. They just
But real talk though, this is like my first time ever having braids. I mean, not my first, my fourth time ever in my life having braids.
Oh, yeah.
It's just because I went on vacation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a point in time where I was not only the youngest, but the only black on the
Right.
floor, right? So I had to overcome that, right?
And you're a woman.
And
Right.
I'm a woman,
You
right?
just
And I'm a woman. Oh
triple
my gosh, when
minority.
Obama won in 2008, Lord have mercy, it was a very difficult time for me at work.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Who, a black woman? Young black woman. I
Yeah,
can
it was a
imagine.
very difficult time for me at work. People had really ugly things to say. And like these are people that I would sit with every day. We would work together and collaborate every day. And I'm like, whoa,
That's how you feel?
Yeah, like that's how you really feel. But so anyway, yeah. So my last job was 6 years. I worked for Shell, and I was pretty high up. What I considered to be pretty high up for a 30-year-old.
Oh, yeah.
I was running. It's some technical stuff
Yeah,
y'all probably wouldn't
yeah,
understand. But anyway, I ran the whole solutions for North America, and I was like one of 3 people in the entire company globally that specialized in what I did.
Oh, so you had value.
Yeah, tons. Yeah, they would send me to the Philippines to train people and everything, right? So, but I felt like that they felt like that she ain't going nowhere, And so I left this out. So I got my real estate license in 2012. My grandmother actually gave me the money to go to real estate school. But I got my real estate license in 2012, but it was always a side hustle for me. So the whole time, most of the time I was working in corporate America, I was willy-nilly dealing, deals, but it was just like side hustle money for me. I was never a top producer,
When did she do that for you? Like the real estate license, like give you the money to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Go to when did she do that for you?
Oh, she did that for me in 2012.
That was during like your full-time work?
Yeah.
4
My
years
cousin
in.
and I, who's the co-owner of the brokerage that we own together, she gave both of us money to go to real estate school. She paid for us to go to real estate school. And she's like, I think y'all should be doing this.
That's planting a seed right there.
You said your grandma did that?
My grandma.
Wow.
And more so she did it because she said, we getting old. We need somebody to protect our assets and protect us.
Exactly.
They always bought and sold real estate off market, without a realtor. Just, back in the day, everybody just did deals. And so, handshake. So now, so she's like, we getting old. We need somebody to protect our assets, protect us, have our best interests in mind. Y'all go to real estate. I mean, like now, we list their properties now.
Oh, wow.
We sell their land and all of that stuff now. But that's how that happened. So, yeah, kind of getting back into corporate. So I have always had a real estate license. Well, 7 of the 11 years I was in corporate America, I did have a real estate license. And I've always been an active realtor.
Yeah.
I may not have done a lot of deals, but I was always an active realtor.
Yeah.
So, it kind of got to the time I'm like, I'm bored with my corporate job. So much so, like, the whole system could be broke and nobody would know it. Like, I could have it fixed before anybody even realized it was broken.
Yeah. That's how good you were.
Yeah. Like, they're like, oh, something's a little off. I'm like, oh, yes, nothing, no. Go back and fix it before, anybody even realized it was a huge problem,
Right.
And so, I initially asked Shell, could I go part-time? And my reason for doing that was like, hey, let me go part-time here and go full-time real estate to kind of get my feet, get it revved up in real estate.
So this is after you saw like the older gentleman that was like, super boring. What was the catalyst?
Man.
What was the catalyst?
We heard that story, I think, before
we talked about that off camera.
I'm
I'm
like,
on camera.
Did she say that?
When I first started working there, it was they had a big retirement party for this guy on the floor. And so, everyone's like, I'm like, okay, go join the retirement party. And so, they just got to talking to everybody doing their speeches. And they said, I can't even remember this guy's name, but they were like, yeah, such and such. He's dedicated 43 years to Shell. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, how many years? And so, like, I got to talking to other people. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been here 30 years. I'm gonna retire with 36 years, 40 years. They called it Shell lifers.
Uh-oh.
So the culture at Shell was that you basically come to Shell and you work here until you retire. You retire with a good pension and all that. But like you literally work for like these people. I did not meet one person that was gonna retire with less than like 28 years.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, this is not goals for me. Not goals at all.
Right.
Like I don't aspire to be getting up at the crack of dawn, fighting the traffic to get here, to figure out create all these solutions and processes for this multi-billion-dollar company to give me a 5% raise year over year, and just be like, yeah, I did it for 43 years, So I'm like, heck no. Like, so that was always in the back of my mind. In corporate America, that was always in the back of my mind.
Even from like when you first graduated college, that was in the back of your head?
That wasn't in the back of my mind until that day.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that was the seed that was planted right there.
Yeah, that was the seed. When that dude said he was retiring after 43 years, and I'm like, sir, what did it look like 43 years ago here?
I got questions.
He said they had one big computer, the mainframes, right? If you wanted to use a computer, you had to walk to the center of the room, get on the computer, print out whatever you needed, write it all out. There was no scanner. They had one phone on the floor. You had to go to like how you see back in the day in the old movies, the phone is in the hallway of the house. The same thing. I'm like, how did y'all do work? How did you get anything done with a global company working that way? But I just thought it was crazy. He said, I just wanted to know what it looked like 43 years ago. So,
right.
But that was the seed, and I'm like, I gotta do something different. This is not gonna work, But like I said, I do get bored easily, and I'm always looking for something new to do. Like I've pretty much done everything.
So how did it work out when you said you want to go part-time in the job, full-time real estate? Was that transition successful, or
they told me no.
Really?
My role was too critical. They told me no. They told me my role was too critical. They needed somebody like me full-time. Now, man, like mind you,
what do you mean no?
Yeah, no. Either you stay here, you stay full time, or they didn't say quit, but they just really like no, Wow. So I let it slide for maybe about 2 or 3 months. Then I revisited it again. I said, hey, I'm really interested in going part time because Shell, as a one of those type of companies, they want to have their employees to have flexibility, work-life balance, and things like that. So I'm like, part of my work-life balance is I want to be part-time,
right.
And so they still said no.
Man.
So maybe like another month went by, and I said, you know what? Today's that day.
Uh-oh.
So I was like, I walked in the door, typed up my nice little 2 weeks notice, and sent it to my boss. And he said, I was not expecting this. What do we need to do to keep you? And I said, I want to go part-time. Right? So I got to go part-time.
I bet.
All right, yeah.
I bet.
It was that easy. So I got to go part-time. So I worked part-time for a while. Then my husband broke his leg.
Oh.
And
He broke his leg?
He broke his leg. Yeah. My husband broke his leg and got to go out on medical leave. And me being his caregiver, I got to go out too. So I was really his caregiver, and I got paid my part-time pay from Shell,
right.
And that's when I took off with the real estate.
While you were
while I was his caregiver, right? And really, to be honest, the part-time salary wasn't enough for me to do anything with. It wasn't enough to sustain my lifestyle or anything like that. It was just extra little check coming in, because actually I was a little bit below part-time. I worked like my part-time was 40% of my 100% salary. Yeah, so it really didn't do anything, but how I sustained everything and kept money coming in the door was real estate.
Yeah.
Sorry. After my medical leave time was up, I'm like, I had I figured it out. Like I had everything going. I had built out all my systems. I had a good pipeline. I'm like, I'm just gonna quit. So then COVID hit. They were offering packages. I'm like, hey, I'll take a package. They still told me no. They still told me no. They told me my role was too crucial. They told me no. So then that's when I just said, okay, I quit and I'm serious. Like, I'm not coming back. Yeah. And from there, I just dove into real estate. We opened up the Brayton Real Estate Group, which is the company that myself and my first cousin own.
Last year?
Yeah. No, in 2019, at the end of 2019.
Okay.
It was just her, I, and we had one into 2 agents. So it was 4 of us, right?
Yeah.
We were in this little office. To be honest, we couldn't even really afford to pay office rent. So what we did, we kind of negotiated with the guy that owned the property, which was a black guy, that we will property manage his space if he let us have our office for free.
Hey, I love it.
Yeah, and so that's what we did, and we grinded it out, but we also took it serious. It was now our career. It was no longer our side hustle.
Right.
You know? And so we turned it in. We went from 4 agents to that little office on Pier Street to now we have about 51 agents. And I say about because it changes every day. We get a new agent every day.
You just opened this up in 2019, like December 2019.
51 agents.
And y'all went from 4 to 51 within that time.
4 to 50, 50. We should, 51,
This
52,
is 2 years, 2 years apart.
Yeah, we celebrated our 2-year our 2-year anniversary in October.
Wow.
Yeah.
One thing I want to get into that in a second, but one thing I want to talk about is briefly how, this whole situation with the company with, part-time, full-time, and how they kind of responded to that.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about it, it's like, I don't blame Shell for responding the way they did. Like, based off of, the situation there, I don't blame them for telling you no twice, for saying no part-time. Because I look at it like this. As a company, I understand how much value you bring to the company. Right. And I also understand that most people, they don't necessarily know their worth. Like most people aren't going to they're all talk. Most people aren't going to actually do anything. And so for me to tell you no, it's like, cool. Let's see, what she actually does if we tell her no. We tell her no again. Cool. She didn't do nothing the first time. Let's tell her no again. Now this third time comes around and you type up your resignation. Now they're like, okay, so she's actually going to do this. Now we can, kind of be a little more flexible. Mm-hmm. I think that's so interesting because most people would never even get to that point they would never gain the confidence or feel like they would never be empowered to type up a resignation after being at a company so long that is taking care of them, to that extent. And
taking care of me well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of people felt like, hey, she does good,
Right.
It was a nice 6-figure salary, and it wasn't a low 6-figure salary. It was a higher 6-figure salary, and had all the great benefits. We even still had pensions where most companies had gotten rid of pensions. We still had pensions, and so it's taking care of me pretty good. But what I've learned through that is you don't get what you ask for, and I'm sure y'all probably heard this before. You get what you negotiate.
Oh yeah.
And so that taught me that.
Yeah.
As long as you say yes, okay, and walk away, it's gonna be most advantageous for them.
Yeah.
But what I also realized that I got a lot of knowledge that's coming across here. Like I'm not gonna lie, they probably struggled when I left.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
And so again, knowing my value, you know what I'm saying, knowing my worth, and that's where I'm kind of when that light bulb went off, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I got weight around here,
And I'm so glad that you even looked at it like that because a lot of people, I think it's cool if you because you had leverage in that situation because it's like supply and demand. Like you were essentially a commodity that is very hard to replace in the company. And so looking at it like that, it's like a lot of people could use that leverage to negotiate even a higher salary or more compensation to some degree or whatever the case may be, even maybe equity. But you saw it as like, look, to me it's like an asymmetrical bet. Like either way I win. Because if I, stay here, whatever, I can potentially make more money, whatever the case may be. Or I can leave, go start my own thing, build ownership, equity, and make more money that way too. So I think even recognizing that you had that kind of power in that situation is super powerful.
Well, because here's the thing. A lot of people build wealth through building businesses and selling them.
Yeah.
And I realized I could never sell shells. I could never build that business and sell it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So I the little equity they said we had as company owners, as employee owners, and whatever that looks like. Okay, the shareholders that we were, it would never equate to me building a business, and turning that business into much more wealth through either selling it, or selling shares, letting me become
public.
Going public or whatever the case may be. I'm like, I can never sell this. Like I will always just be here, And then on top of it, it was all of the politics in the business just to
yeah.
get to. We don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, people don't even talk about like all the politics that goes along with you climbing the corporate ladder.
Right.
Ladder. You know, I just got to a point where I'm like, I'm over all of this. You know, seriously, I was sitting in my performance reviews like, oh, you need to go network with these people. You need to do this. I'm like, I don't want to do that. You know. And like where I am in my life and where I was at the time, like if something makes me uncomfortable, because I'm very much so an introvert, whether y'all believe it or not, and nobody believes it, but I'm very much so an introvert.
Hard to.
Right. It takes a lot for me to walk up to somebody and be like, hello, I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Right.
So I'm like, they're like, you know, you need to do these things. You need to network with this people. Oh, that person, he's high up. You need to put some time on his calendar and meet with him and see how I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, so, you know, where I am in my life and where I was at the time, it's like, if something makes me uncomfortable,
I'm not gonna do it.
I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just flat out not gonna do it. So I'm like, I just quit all of this.
Yeah.
I quit the monotony of having to come here every day. I quit the playing this corporate political game. I quit the being fake in front of all these people that I really don't like anyway. You know, like I just quit all of it. And that's how I looked at it. I'm like, how much can I lose by quitting this? Now, again, let me say this. I'm not down talking my corporate job because it was a great place to work. But just being realistic, it wasn't what I liked to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's like you knowing that you can be, because you can be good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
That don't mean that you care to do it. Like,
Right.
so, like that was like we're good at engineer, at being engineers. Like we can do the engineering job really well. We're actually both really good at what we did.
Right.
That doesn't mean I want to do that though.
That's
so
the person that you are, though. You're gonna be good at it. You know,
how you
you're
do
gonna
anything is
strive
how you do
excel.
everything.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just that's you being a disciplined person makes you excel at your role,
Right.
and so you can take that same energy and apply it to your own group. And apply it to what you care about, what you want to do, and grow from 4 to 51 within 2 years.
And let me say this: I worked 10,000 times harder than I did at Shell.
Yeah, that's a fact.
You know, that's a fact. I work right now. I don't aspire for it to continue that way, but right now I work 10,000 times harder than I do at Shell. It's no getting off at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, it's when the work stops. You know, and it never stops. You know, especially if you're building a business and growing a business. But I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
now,
saying?
Now it's back to what you want to do.
Yeah, it's what I want to do.
Right.
And if it makes me uncomfortable, I don't have to do it. And there's nobody telling me that I have to.
Yeah.
You know?
So okay, so at that point now you quit your job and you know you had already kind of got you had already started the business in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, can you explain? A lot of people don't even know what a real estate broker is. Can you explain what you do?
So I'm actually not the broker of the brokerage. I co-own the brokerage, but I am a realtor. My first cousin is the broker of the brokerage. So every real estate agent has to be sponsored by a broker. So what a real estate agent, a broker that is willing to sponsor other agents, they will open a brokerage. So that's what we did. So we have 50 or so agents under that we sponsor take on the liability for them practicing real estate day in and day out. So that's essentially what a brokerage is.
Right. Okay. I wanted to make that very clear because I think a lot of people don't even necessarily know, which is cool. That's why we're talking about it. But so what made you kind of want to focus on that side of real estate? Because this is the difference. You're on the retail side of real estate versus the investment side of real estate. Those are two completely different. It's like a different strategy completely. What made you want to focus on building a business on that degree?
Because I started off focusing on building a business on the investment side, and I almost lost my marriage.
Really?
Just me and Frank, yeah.
Oh, let's get into that.
How much time you got?
Well, when I say I almost lost my marriage, and like it took a huge toll on my family, because let's just be honest, on the investment side, you either have to have a lot of money or a lot of time. All right, you know how real estate investors get money is they buy low, sell high.
Right.
It's not easy to get properties at a low cost. Everybody wants to be a real estate investor. Let's just call it a spade, right? And so, you know, if you're looking at like the wholesaling side or flipping side and things like that, you have everybody fighting for this one thing, you know, for this one house, right?
Oh my God.
And so just, you know, like I said, you either have to have a lot of time or a lot of money on the investing side. To get people to sell properties to you for pennies on the dollar is not an easy task.
Right.
Can it be done? Absolutely. Are people really successful in it? Absolutely. When you kind of look at the small fish, though, when you're going up against a real estate company, you a real estate investing company, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
You know, just being honest. And it's just because you don't have the resources to take on those type of, to be able to negotiate and fight for what you need, you know?
They can pay a lot more.
Yeah, they can put a lot more. They may be willing to buy it at a little bit of a higher price because they have they have a higher spread on these other projects or whatever the case may be, you know? So I was the little fish, right? I was the one, it was myself and a partner of mine. We were just like kind of grinding it out. You know, we were learning the business, you know, they tell you, you know, put all this money into marketing, go on these, you know, find buyers, you know, the whole strategy of getting them to sell you the property, talking to them all damn day and night. You know, I just, as a mom and a wife, I couldn't be that person, you know, chasing the deals. I couldn't be the person chasing the deals. And just, you know, I've done it all. I buy and hold, I flip properties, you know, wholesale. I've done it all, right? And so I just realized that wasn't a good strategy for me and use of my time. You know, I did not build a big company out of it. It was, you know, me and my investor partner, you know, trying to basically chase the tail. I kind of felt like I was chasing the tail. You know, felt like I was kind of chasing the tail. And so I'm like, there has to be another way. And then on top of that, I started weighing my risk, right? So if you flip a property, which y'all do, right? Yeah. So if you flip a property, let's look at it. First of all, you got to put the effort in to find the property. Once you find the property, you got to finance it, right? Yeah. So you finance it, now you have a loan, which your personal, you probably personally guaranteed it at some point in life, right? So now you have your own name behind it. Then you have to deal with contractors. Oh yeah. You know, you have to manage contractors. And if that go bad, it can all go to hell. You know,
You've seen it.
So when I start, exactly, right. You've seen it. It's happened. Like, let's be real about it. It's happened, right?
It's happened.
You got to pay the loan back and all this stuff. So when I start looking at my risk compared to on-market sales, on market, most of the time people are coming to you because they want to buy or sell a property, and you're not hounding them down to buy to get them to do so, right? It's at a reasonable cost. It's not pennies on the dollar. So again, that makes it a lot easier. And then when I started looking at the amount of volume that I was doing, I would make the same amount of money in 1 month selling properties on market than it would take me 4 and 5 months on my return on a flip.
Really?
Yeah. I no longer flip properties for that reason.
Wow,
no, I'm dead serious. I no longer flip properties. The only thing I would do is buy and hold.
Yeah.
I do not flip properties. I will never wholesale. Shout out to those that are killing it. You know, that's just not me. Yeah. You know, nothing wrong with that. That's just not my lane. And that's the reason why, because when I look at my return on investment and where my time is spent, investing wasn't the best use of my time for the return.
So there's one commonality between everything that you do. It seems like you do it at a high level, or at least you get to a level where it's so efficient, like that it's going to be hard to replace you, for one. So how did you, like, what are you doing that's bringing in like this level of leads in per month? Because even I think the fact that your group went from 4 to 51 was one accomplishment on the bringing in people on the business side of it all. But what about your customers? Like, how are you building that customer base up to the point where you're generating this much income in per month?
You know, believe it or not, my first year in real estate, 90% of my business came from social media.
Really?
And it's being omnipresent. Being everywhere, number one. You know, so I said, everywhere I could put my face, I'm gonna put my face. Because first of all, I quit my job right in the heat of COVID. Well, I quit my job, and 2 weeks later, COVID happened. They shut the world down. I'm like, oh, yeah. Am I gonna have you shut the world down, and it's like, ain't nobody looking for a house. The world shut down, and the government dropped those interest rates. You know, you want to keep the economy going, keep the housing market going. There's so many people that rely on it. You know, so I'm like, thank God. COVID was a detrimental thing, but it did wonders for the real estate industry. Oh yeah, especially the on-market industry. Yeah. You know, the traditional industry, right? But to answer your question, I put myself everywhere, and one thing I am big on is giving a lot of value. I believe that if you give value to people, they will automatically come to you. So a tool that I really use is I would just get on social media and tell people how they should do this, how they should do that, give information, give tons of information. I never forget, it's no longer my highest deal, but at one point in time, I closed on the largest deal in my life because somebody saw me on Matt the Mortgage Guy's podcast.
Oh, shout out.
I mean,
MG.
not YouTube.
Yeah.
Shout out to MG.
MG,
Yeah, shout out to MG. And it was because they were so impressed when I talked about all these down payment assistance programs.
Yeah.
You know, and like they didn't even want down payment assistance. You know, they bought almost $1 million house. You know, but again, that was my lane. And if you go look at my not YouTube, you go look at my Instagram now and go look at my videos, it's just like tons of videos giving free information.
Right.
And so people wanted to work with me out of the fact that they knew I was knowledgeable and resourceful.
That makes
You know,
sense.
I'm not gonna lie. My first year, I killed it selling like $250,000 homes. So $15 million in real estate. My average sales price was like $250.
Sheesh.
Wow.
You know, myself and my assistant, we sold 51 homes.
Yeah.
You know.
This is your first full-time year? Or
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, my first
So you
full-time
was
year. I
doing
quit
part-time.
Shell. I'm like, hey, my first full-time year. No, I wish. No. My first
Did it on
full-time
the side.
year. Yeah, no. My first full-time year, but that's what it was. Like, I just put myself out there. And so, you know, from the client side, they saw that, right? And then from the real estate side, other realtors were like, you know, she's doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can I be a part of, you know, what she's doing right? And I'll be honest, when we first launched the Brokerage, we were just like, let's make money.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and it was at the sacrifice of some of the agents, you know, just being, when I say that, it's just like we weren't pouring into them like we should have, you know, and I don't care. I'll be very transparent about that. I'm sure some of them will watch it and it's the truth, you know, but we learned along the way. And then also we invested in coaching, brokerage coaching and training. I have a mentor. We have coaches that we meet with every other week.
Yeah.
You know, I did this real estate thing, honestly, kind of wrong. You know, over the years, just kind of figured it out, you know, right? And then just did some things like, I don't know what this is going to do, but I'm going to get on social media and see where it takes me. And it just took off, you know?
Yeah.
But I will never, if I ever were to open up another business, I would never, ever start from the ground up. I would have a coach from day one. I would invest in the coach mentorship from day one. I'm so serious. And we pay so much money to go to school. We give tens of thousands of hundreds of dollars to these colleges, and we don't even use the degree, nor think about like question the money, right?
Yeah.
We pay it, right? Because that's what we're supposed to do. Why would you not invest in what you truly want to do?
Yeah.
You know, so I tell people all the time, don't do what I did. You know, invest in coaching, invest in training, like invest in yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Man, I love that. And the reason I love it though is like, because you can say for you, based off of your, you know, hindsight, okay, I wouldn't have done it like that. And I think for a lot of people, like the biggest issue with a lot of people is that they don't even get to a point where they don't even take action, because you might not have had the education, but you were still moving forward. You were continuing to, okay, I'm just going, like you said, you were just trying everything.
Yeah.
Something is, as long as I'm moving the needle to some degree, I'm moving forward. I'm going to learn somehow, some way. Obviously now looking back, it's like, okay, it could have been more efficient
Right.
if I did it like this.
but I kept doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I kept doing it. Consistency.
Yeah.
I kept doing it. And like I tell the agents now, everybody gets what I call the shiny lotto eyes. No, seriously, you know how it's like you see something, you're like, ooh, I call it lotto eyes. But a lot of real estate agents aren't successful because they don't focus on one or two things. They try to do everything.
Yeah.
You know, and what ends up happening is they do something and it doesn't pan out for them.
Yeah.
And opposed to being consistent with doing it, they like,
switch up.
let me go. Oh, now something else has come across the screen. You scrolling on Instagram or you scrolling on social media and somebody else told you, I can make you money doing this.
Yeah.
And bam, you just dropped everything you did. But you never gave it enough time to work.
Yeah.
You know, like my first video on Instagram, hideous.
Yeah.
Horrible. I used to get like 125 views. You know? But I kept doing it.
Yeah.
And I got better. And the videos started looking better. You know, and things like that. And I started sounding better because I became more confident with it. And, you know, when you project yourself with confidence, people gravitate to you.
That's
a
You
fact.
know, because they want to work with the people that they know is going to protect them and know that they know what they know.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, that's where I am with it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got here, honestly, you know.
I love that approach you took too, just in the sense of adding value to just people in general.
Facts. That's huge.
Because one thing that, this is just in general, most people, every time they get into something, they always look at it from we literally did a whole episode about this a couple weeks ago, about how if you want to get anything from anyone, you have to look at it from their perspective. Everyone's favorite subject is themselves. So like,
you doggone right.
so at the end of the day, like if I want to get anything from anyone, like I have to frame it in a way that makes it look attractive to them. And so for you, it was just, okay, I don't necessarily, there's nothing in particular I need for you, but how can I add value to all of my, my entire audience, everyone, even mentioned realtors were even now reaching out to you too, because they even saw it's like, okay, she's adding value to these people. She must be doing something differently. What I can learn from her, what is something that she's doing that I can start implementing in my business? Yeah. And that I think is probably that is the one thing that you probably did of the many things you did that probably gave you the most sort of momentum.
I agree. Because like I said, I had my real estate license since 2012.
Yeah.
I wasn't new to this. I was just new to social media with it, So, I mean, of course, if you didn't post it, it didn't happen in today's world, right? So, just being honest. So nobody knew I was doing real estate since 2012. Some people, but, nobody knew that I had built up, this is a knowledge base almost 10 years strong. They just, this chick just pops up on the scene and is very knowledgeable and just growing her business like crazy. No, this has been in the works for years. But no, from a value perspective, it's 100%. And let's just be frank, it's a real estate brokerage and a real estate agent on every corner and every block. And I tell people all the time, pretty pictures don't cut it anymore. And they don't
add value.
They don't. Pretty pictures don't cut it anymore. We all taking nice photos. We all showing nice houses.
How are you different now?
Yeah. How do you differentiate yourself from the next person that's just showing a nice house or taking a pretty photo?
Yeah.
And that's the value piece, because at the end of the day, we have somebody's prized possession, most valued possession, probably, the biggest investment they will ever make in their lives in our hands.
Right.
People want to know that is secure. And they working with people that has their best interest in mind, and is gonna essentially lead them to the promised land.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think whenever you frame things from that perspective, it's guaranteed to get a different result than what you have been getting before, because I don't know. It's like a law of nature that whenever you just put stuff out there and you give value and anything, it just comes back to you and more. Because it's like people will just gravitate towards that. Mm-hmm. Literally, if it's buyers, if it's other realtors that now want to join your brokerage or whatever the case may be. I love it. So one thing I want to briefly talk about before we kind of go into our next segment, which will kind of wrap up the show, is I want to talk a little bit kind of about the real estate market trends, because I think you have an interesting perspective from brokerage side of it. So obviously now, real estate is, cooking hot. I think a lot of that has to do with, some of the macroeconomics, just in the sense of, inflation, and also stimulus packages, all these kind of things the government is doing that I think is kind of putting us in a fake propped up market that I think I don't know. I honestly think real estate should have crashed.
Added to that.
Yeah. Like there's so many different things that are just adding fuel to the fire that I think real estate should have probably crashed last year, realistically, or at least some point within the last couple years. What are you kind of seeing now, just in the sense of trends, as far as like outlook for 2022 and then beyond, like just in the sense of the general real estate market?
So let's talk about the crash.
Yeah, please.
I kind of see it a little different, right?
Okay.
Because the main reason for the 2008 crash was basically not because of inflation or, trends, prices and things like that. Bad loans. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But people doing subprime lending, give you a loan if you had a pulse.
Yep.
All that type of stuff. So I really don't see what I call a crash. I see at some point stabilization. And we're starting to see that now. Prices aren't going up as rapidly as they did. But, trend wise, believe it or not, the best performing market right now is the luxury market.
Really?
$750,000 or higher. And if you kind of think about it, I have a theory on it, and I think my theory makes sense. But and here's why. Because unfortunately, what's happened is home prices have gone up substantially, right? People's salaries have not gone up in the same way, right? So we're also seeing Houston population grow at a rapid rate. God.
Net 120, last I saw.
Because we are still, compared to other cities and other states where people live, one of the most affordable places to own, to have housing. So that's kind of where things are trending. Unfortunately, people that bought homes on a lower income scale, 5-10 years from now, they can't even afford their same home if they were to go buy it again now.
Yeah.
You know, because their salaries have not gone up in the same sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, and I'm sure y'all have heard this 1,000 times, but you have people from California, people from New York, you know, Boston, cashing out on these
Coming here.
$1 million shacks, you
Right.
know, and you know, in you know, buying a sizable sized home, you know, paying cash for it. I would say about 60% of my clients, no, sorry, 40%, 60% of students on it. About 40% of my clients now don't live here.
Really?
You know, don't start here. You know, they want to retire here because economically it just makes sense. You know, the people another reason why the higher end is performing so well, because if you think about it, you bought your house 10 years ago. You bought a nice house, right? Now that equity has grown so much, those people can cash out and buy a much larger house.
Yeah. So that's what you're seeing right now. It's like those
That's
are
what
the people in the
we're
market.
seeing right now. I had a home, clients closed on $750,000. Looked at the title commitment. The seller bought the house 10 years ago for $357,000.
Wow. 10 years.
Just 10 years ago.
Wow.
$357,000. They
Doubled.
closed. They cashed out at $500,000 profit in their pocket after all fees were paid.
Wow. Man, that's crazy.
That's why you can take $500,000, go put it down on $1 million home, and then finance $500,000. You still be good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It still kind of equates to what your mortgage payment was 10 years ago, because 10 years ago you weren't paying 3% interest, you were paying 10% interest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it kind of equates the same. So those are the people that's moving up. And unfortunately it's sad because the home buyers that were in the lower price point just 3-5 years ago, those are the people that is hurting the most.
Yeah.
Because their salaries haven't gone up like their home prices have.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because personally, I think commercial real estate, specifically multifamily and things like that, are going to continue to boom, because
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people graduating and getting into the workforce today will never buy a house in their lifetime.
Absolutely, and they understand, never buy a house in their lifetime too, but also too, or they understand the investment side of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, the investment side of it. And so like, I feel like millennials are starting to be smarter now. Like the younger generation is starting to be smarter now. They realize, like, let me not go buy this big mansion. Let me go buy this property where I can put 3 other people in it. I can get my rent paid.
Yeah.
You know, I can get my mortgage paid.
Because,
you know, and now, boom, I've just became a landlord and a homeowner all in one, using an FHA loan where I only put 3.5% down.
Yep.
Like, that just makes sense.
Yep. And then you, because once you do that once, it's kind of like, I got to do that again.
Exactly. When you see the return, you're like, I gotta do this again.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be frank, they don't want to work.
We don't. No, we don't.
work.
You're pretty much talking to us. That's all we
They
laughing
don't want
at.
to work. You know, like, they don't want to work. So it's like, kind of like what we talked about with my grandparents. I gotta figure something out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
And it's crazy because the information is so prominent today too, where it's like I always am a big believer. There's 15-year-old kids right now that are out there that are watching TikTok videos about real estate and all these different things. They are going to come run laps around a lot of, people that have been in real estate for a long time because of the information they're getting at such a young age.
Absolutely.
That is so prominent. And that a lot of those things are also going to drive it, because now when you have a lot more investors in the market, it's going to drive things up as well.
They're gonna start crowdfunding,
Yep.
the whole nine.
Okay.
You know, they're learning from the people that's doing it now.
Yeah. So it's going to be a wild ride. So that's why because someone asked me the other day, it was like, do you think the real estate market is going to crash? I was like, look, don't try to time the market. Like, that's the... I don't see it happening anytime soon. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, yeah, man, I think... No. Just get into the game, man. Like, stop trying to sit on the sidelines waiting for... Bro,
Right.
Stop. So...
Real estate is the only thing that I know that is always appreciated.
Yeah.
And I tell people this all the time. Even like today, they feel like they're buying at such a premium.
Yeah.
The premium that you're paying today is still a discount for the future.
Exactly.
That's what you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
No, I think that's real though, because we're in such a different time than we were a few years ago. That like right now, there's so much opportunity and so many ways to take advantage of real estate, just in the sense of like the information is out there, so it's just about actually applying it and taking action on it. So I absolutely love what you got going on with the brokerage, and I'm excited to kind of see what you continue to build, brokerage. I know you mentioned you just expanded into Dallas.
I ain't told. When is this video coming out? Because I ain't told nobody that.
Actually, we didn't
probably right before.
2
No,
weeks.
we're planning to announce that January the 1st. But yes,
Okay,
as of
well,
that's all right. Y'all can drop it. It'll it goes where I want the word to get out anyway.
Yeah.
But we are planning to announce that on January the 1st.
Cool.
So y'all come some like the first people to know that
we'll
we'll be launching an office in Dallas, and we're also launching BREG University. That's Brady Real Estate Group University. So that'll be a whole coaching program, not just for agents inside the brokerage, but also agents that are not a part of our brokerage.
Nice.
That's another income stream too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love it.
I don't like being a landlord. Is that bad to say?
No,
You found what works for you. That's the best thing about it. I've noticed that's been the whole trend of this whole episode.
I'm like,
She
I
do what
have
she
to
want.
find
Do what you want
other
to do.
ways to find, passive income. Cause I don't like being it's just not for me.
I love it. So what we want to do then kind of now is transition to our last segment, which will just be the Fast Five. So this is where we ask you 5 questions and you answer them in 10 seconds.
Oh my God. Okay.
So
let's do it.
Welcome to the Fast Five.
So I'll take the first one and then we'll alternate. So the first question, this is a softball. What does success mean to you?
Honestly, success means to me having my child turn into an adult and do whatever it is that she wants to do.
Wait, hold on. Wait. What time? I really wanted to kind of talk about this briefly because this is very important too. So scratch that. I had one more question.
Sure.
as I had to say that so I remember. But as obviously being a woman in this field, like how is it? Because one thing we were kind of talking about earlier is as a woman, you kind of have like a familiar obligation more so than a lot of men, especially in this, entrepreneurship space. So what does that balance look like as far as like being a wife, being a mother, being a business owner? Because those are because here's the thing. I hope people don't get upset at me, but a lot of women, I think, approach this incorrectly.
How so?
Yeah. Allow me to explain because
How much time you got?
just briefly, because I think women are really good at getting things done and I think accomplishing things, like especially when it comes to like school, work, those kinds of things. They're great at it. But oftentimes, especially in the society, it's portrayed to like you need to be this boss babe, independent woman kind of woman, and you kind of start to neglect like the other aspects of being a woman as well. Which is, it's not for everyone, but at the same time, it's like a lot of women want to have families, they want to have husbands because that's like a biological makeup. But you neglect that whole aspect of it, that things start to deteriorate. And you did also mention, obviously, it was part of because you started an investment business and those kinds of things that it took a toll on your marriage. How do you manage those kinds of things?
So, now it's just like, again, for me, it's a business. I hate to say that, but it is a business. Everything that I do, I look at my return on investment. Is this the greatest return on my investment? I.e., it used to take me 6 hours to clean my entire home. I will not clean my home anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, I keep it clean.
Yeah, well, you don't clean.
But the day-to-day dusting and mopping, I will not do that.
Yeah.
That is not an effective use of my time. So I, again, look at my return on investment. Me investing time in my family is the most effective use of my time, right? And so I look for ways to alleviate the things that's going to take me away from that. It's this book by Dan Sullivan. It's called Who Not How.
Oh, yeah.
And so kind of why I asked you earlier, why did y'all figure out how to do all this? Seriously, set up your podcast equipment and all of that when you probably just could have had somebody come in here one time that already was an expert in it, paid them to do it. Bam, you had it set up and you're good, one time. And so that's how I run my life from a who, not how perspective.
That's good.
And only focusing on those things that have the greatest return on my investment. And it's not always money. You know what I'm saying? But time with my family has the greatest return on my investment. Running certain things in my business has the greatest return on my investment. All that little stuff, like, and it's, people are like, oh, she's not a domesticated woman. I have been, and I'm past that. Just being frank, you just being frank. And so, just finding a bunch of who's, seriously, that book was an eye opener, finding a bunch of who's. One of my mentors used to say, get rid of all the minimum wage activities.
That's it.
Put a price point, put an hourly rate on your activities. If you're doing something that's not going to bring you the return of your hourly rate, whatever you want that to be.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't be doing it.
So who cooks dinner then? I'm just curious.
You know, we eat out a lot. Just being frank. You know, I'm looking. If anybody's a chef, you know, person, I need that. We also do a lot of prepared meals.
Okay.
You know, we do a lot of prepared meals. Again, I used to cook a lot,
Meal
but
prep.
you know, yeah. Again, I am the woman of my household, right? So I do have to balance out some things.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to know when to say no, when enough is enough. You know, I don't work on Sundays anymore.
Okay.
You know, Sundays is typically the days that my daughter goes to Girl Scouts. You know, like I told you guys, can we rearrange this meeting because my daughter had a recital this morning? You know, those are things I will not miss.
Right.
You know, and those are the like I said, those are the highest return I can get on my time investment. You know.
That's one thing I admire when we were talking to you about it. Just so you said you had at the recital, you can reschedule. I was like, please do that because
I appreciate
the most important thing. I feel like
you can't hire that out.
Yeah, you can't hire that.
And that's like you said, biggest return on your time investment is going to those. So I appreciate you for doing that for her.
Yeah, thank you. And like I said, thank you guys for being understanding because everybody isn't.
Yeah, for sure. We totally get it. So I had to indulge in that conversation just because it is, I think, very prevalent, especially in today's day and age with this whole entrepreneurship, glorification. But now we can I just want to get back to the Fast Five real quickly. So, like I said, five questions, 10 seconds or less. We'll alternate. First question: what does success mean to you?
Having my daughter go into her adult life owning things.
Okay. So you have one daughter?
I have one.
Okay.
Nice. Question number 2: what is your favorite money or business book?
The negotiation book. Never Split the Difference.
Shout out Chris Voss.
Reading that right now. Actually, second time.
Deep.
It's a good book. Yeah, got a label, got a mirror.
You said that. You said that earlier too, saying that you don't get what you ask for, you get what you negotiate. So you embody that.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. Third question: would you rather have $1,000 a week for life or $1 million today, and why?
$1 million today, because I can take that $1 million and turn it into multiple thousands of dollars a week for life.
Hey man.
Hey, love it.
Straightforward.
Question number 4: if you could go back and change anything about your journey, what would it be?
That I would have invested in coaching and training from day one.
Wow, you're like the third person that said that.
Yeah.
There we go. So last question then: where can people find out more about you?
You can find out more about me. So a lot of people know me from social media. My hashtag on Instagram is Mrs. Nikki Handy. That's MRSNIKKI HANDY. I am simply Nicole Handy, the realtor on Facebook. You can also go to our website, BraytonREGroup.com. You can find out everything you need to know about Brayton Real Estate Group, including how to join Brayton Real Estate Group. And my contact information is all over any of my social media platforms.
Dope. Man, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. I've enjoyed you guys as well.
Actually, this is the first one we've interviewed in person. So it took a
solo.
Who did we interview?
Januka. She was in person.
Oh yeah. But she was with her husband though.
Like I said, solo.
Yeah.
For sure.
So no, this is the first real one. So we appreciate you being, having that honor, because now this is now evergreen episode that's gonna live in the internet forever, and we are excited to definitely bring you back on the show at some point in the future whenever your Brayton Real Estate Group hits 200 agents or 1,000 agents.
It's trending.
That's the goal. That is the goal.
Yeah. So we gonna definitely have you back, and we just appreciate you taking the time to come educate our audience today.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all for having this platform.
Yep. That's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram at Money Monopolizers or Twitter at The Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that's going to keep you engaged. So be sure to check that out and share those posts. But until then, we got Miss Nicole Handy here. We are out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time